Okay, sorry about that little cut there. We thought we lost the internet, but it was just Doug muting himself.
I do that from time to time. Yes, so we're back. What were we talking about?
We were talking about the changes to the fly keyword and what it allows you to do. And I was just saying that buildings, specifically bastions, fortresses of redemption, and other fortification battlefield role buildings.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, you can't hop over a building necessarily.
Yeah. Which sounds good. Like, I like that. It does show the importance of terrain, which is good because I think 8th has been a little bit lackluster in the terrain department.
Yeah.
So impacting something like that, I think, is probably a good move for it.
Can still charge over a Titan, though.
Yeah, that's true.
God damn it, Games Workshop. You have one job. Just fix it. Fuck. It's not that hard.
I'm going to go burn all my shit now that you've told me that.
Yeah, exactly right? Like, geez.
Yeah. The next video stream will just be me smashing things with a mallet.
Man, fly. It's the new mental onslaught. Nerf it now.
So that's really good. So anybody that used, I don't know what, custodes dudes on bikes, shining spears.
Yeah.
Hang on, why did they change this back again?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Honestly, I don't mind too much because, particularly from a Gene Stealer perspective, if they're screening out charging units, then they're probably like they're either screening out for deep striking or for flying units, if you know what I mean. Like the way you screen for those two things is slightly different.
Yeah.
So if they're screening for flying things, then my cultists have more places to go.
No, that's true. And I think
it's more things they have to keep in their head if they're going to run a gun line, which means more mistakes.
Yeah, cognitive overload as a technique, I think, is something that's incredibly valid in 8th edition.
Yes, pulling a Bradbury, right? Just waiting for them to fuck up and then skating across.
Sounds like Gene Stealer cult, for sure.
Pretty much. It's good.
So next one after that, which is kind of roughly related to it, is the aircraft keyword.
Yeah.
So the aircraft keyword is basically anything with a flyer battlefield role that has a minimum move characteristics. So what we've been seeing, and this is what I was saying before, is, a bunch of Eldar flyers blocking off the table. You can't move past them because you're moving within 1 inch of an enemy model.
Yeah.
They've seen this. They've had a lot of feedback basically saying that, obviously it's a very clear rule, but it just doesn't seem to be the right rule.
Yep.
And there'd be some fairly easy changes, which they go into here. Yep. So they've defined aircrafts, which is anything with a flyer battlefield role with a minimum move characteristics.
Hang on. No, it's not if it's got the flyer battlefield role. It's if it has the fly keyword.
Is that right?
Yeah, if a unit can fly and it has a minimum move characteristic, then that unit gains the aircraft keyword.
Oh, right. No, sorry. Yep. No, that's right. They were saying that they were seeing things with the flyer battlefield role.
Okay. Yep. So that will include things like Marauders and Thunderhawks because they're super heavies, I think, normally instead of flyers. But we'll also cover stuff like I was going to say Hive Tyrants, but that's wrong. They don't have a minimum move. But stuff like that. Things that are in weird slots, but that are still basically aircraft.
Yeah, and then all units that have the hoverjet ability are classed as aircraft, even whilst they are hovering.
Yes.
And what it means you can do is that, one, you add the aircraft keyword. But if a unit can fly and has a minimum move characteristics, that unit gets the aircraft keyword. Whenever an enemy model makes any kind of move, whenever a model makes any kind of move, it can be moved within 1 inch of an enemy aircraft, and it can be moved across such models and their bases as if they were not there. But it cannot end the move on top of another model or its base, and it cannot end its move within 1 inch of an enemy unit. If when a unit is selected to move in the movement phase, the only enemy units are within 1 inch of it are aircraft, then it may still move, as it doesn't have to fall back into locked-in combat or anything.
Yeah.
So what this means is if somebody walls up a part of the board with a bunch of Storm Ravens or Hemlocks or whatever it is, you can just walk on out of there.
Yep.
I like it. I think it's fantastic. I think the idea of blocking people in with those was like, as this is above, it was a very clear rule. It just wasn't the right rule.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much.
I think I don't think this is one of the things with the Games Workshop playtesters, as far as I can tell, is they must be the most innocent bunch of gamers anywhere in the world. Because nobody was like, oh, look, this is the unintended consequence of doing this, and that is that we're going to block an entire army into a corner, and there's nothing you can fucking do about it.
Yeah.
Or block off objectives and all sorts of things using units that generally have an incredibly large movement characteristic.
Yeah.
No, that's all good. The next section.
Yeah, resetting up models. So this is basically if you're taking models off the table and putting them back on. Mostly about how effects that are applied to them carry over. And the general rule of thumb is that if they had something that applied when you took them off the table, that carries on once you've put them back on the table. So if they're affected by a psychic power or a stratagem or stuff like that, carry it over. If it's an aura, though, they lose it if they're outside the aura range.
Yeah, I actually had this conversation with somebody, and I can't remember what it was over. I want to say it was on one of the Blood Angel Facebook pages.
Yep.
About doing some sort of, I think it was a psychic power or something that could remove units and put them back down.
Yeah.
And to me, it seemed like it made sense. Whereas, like, what was the example that I used at the time? I think it was like send in the next wave. So, like, recycling a unit is different.
Yeah. Yes, recycling's different.
But they generally specify that, like, you don't even get special weapons and attached characters back on those.
Yep.
Sorry, not so much attached characters anymore.
No, but
but you know what I mean, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So no, that's good. They've done that.
Yeah. So points 5 to 8, which is basically it carries over all its stuff, don't apply to units set up through sustained assault or units that have been added to your army during the battle. Yeah, so demonic ritual, fresh converts, tide of traders, green tide, more where they came from. Send in the next wave and endless swarm. So they're new units rather than old units coming back.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like, sort of like they're replacement units as opposed to being replaced units. How's that for confusing?
Yes, that's right. They're fresh units rather than units repositioning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure what that was affecting. I think most people were playing that. They kept whatever the effects were.
Well, the interesting thing will be that if it's advanced, it continues to count as having advanced. So, or if it's fallen back, it counts as having continued to fall back.
Yeah, okay, so you can't.
There was a little bit about being able to fall back out of combat, reposition a unit, and then because it's set up as reinforcements, it doesn't count as having fallen back.
Interesting mental gymnastics, but I can understand it.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Although, if you remove it before it's fallen back, it still doesn't count as having fallen back when it's set back up.
So if you can use whatever it is to just move you out of combat instead of falling back, that's the best way to do it.
Yes, and in fact, this was used on me over the weekend. I just realized.
Right.
A Necron Overlord used his Veil of Darkness to escape combat with my Aberrants and charged my my Brood Brothers.
Yeah, and that's fair. That seems okay.
Seems legit.
There's no problems there.
Yep.
No, that's good. And then the next section is what they call the Organized Event Guidelines, repeated data sheet clarification.
Yes.
So this is if anybody was taking 12 Demon Princes because they took them from 4 different Demon Codexes. Well, sorry. A Demon Codex, Chaos Space Marines, Death Guard, and Thousand Suns. They've just clarified that these are actually the same data sheet.
Yep.
For as far as organized play goes, the same has been said about Astra Militarum heavy weapons squads. There's some people that were trying to take them from Death Corps as well as Elysian as well as normal. No, sorry, they're all the same. And then the same thing goes for Lehman Russes within a Genestealer cult army. So I think what they're basically saying is if you think you can get around the rule of 3, you can't. There's
Yeah,
nothing that I've
basically.
decided to leave out of that, if that makes sense. Like, I haven't done anything like this on purpose. A demon prince is a demon prince is a demon prince.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah,
I
very
know
much
there
so.
were people that were running lists like that.
Yep.
And everybody always told them, well, no, that doesn't really seem to be the way it goes. But
Yeah, that's right. Get ready to flip those extra mortar squads soon.
yeah.
Yep.
And then they have made Bolter Discipline, which was a sort of a playtest rule. They've turned that into a finalized match play, but they've removed it from Space Marine vehicles. So it's now
Yes.
Terminators, Bikers, Centurions, Dreadnoughts, Hellbrutes, and I guess just normal infantry.
So I
But
hope you
no,
played those games with your Land Raider Crusader while the sun shone on
I
them.
was just going to say that. I think Land Raider Crusaders, and what's the flying thing that's got a bunch of them on it?
Oh, there's a few.
I think the Storm Raven's got them on it.
And the Spaceful Flyer and the Deathwatch Flyer and
Yeah.
like
So
literally
all those,
every Marine plane has a Hurricane Bolter on it somewhere.
yeah. So all those get ditched.
Yep.
Which is, you know,
Yep.
is that fair enough? Is it not fair enough? I don't know.
It's fine.
I think the most salient comment was like, why are they nerfing Marines again?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
On the
They've
upside, the
also,
Ironclad Dreadnought has a nice little niche now,
oh, that's true actually. Because you
being
can't
the
put a Hurricane
only
Bolt on
Bolter Discipline Hurricane Bolter.
it. Yeah, there could be some play there. They probably still cost too many points though. Probably the issue
I
with
mean,
the
it's Space
points.
Marines, so yes, but
Yeah.
relatively, it might be okay.
And then Deathwatch has lost Bolter Drill on special ammunition. So if you don't
Yes,
want to use special ammunition, you can use Bolter Drill, but you can't use Bolter Drill on special ammunition.
Yep,
Uh,
which is a shame. But
oh,
whatever.
and they also added in a note that Custodes and Sororitas and anybody else is not going to get it. The Bolter Drill is basically as a result of them wanting to buff Space Marines carrying bolters as opposed to buffing bolters, which makes perfect sense.
No, but my Imperial Guard commander is just as good with a bolter as a Space Marine because my fluff says so. So he should have bolter discipline too.
Yeah. Well, I think it was all these people that were trying to say that custodes are so obviously the most incredible thing in the world. So what we actually need is bolter discipline on custodes.
That fucking whinge fest, by the way, about Toad players being like, "We get bolter discipline too, right?" is what made me quit all of the Toad groups on Facebook I was in.
Yeah, I think I hit a couple of them because I swear to God, there are some absolute like gem Facebook groups for like factions, right?
Yep.
Same thing goes for like 30k legions. Some of them are fucking amazing. Like the 30k Blood Angel group is incredible. That's one of my favorite hangout places at the moment because I'm painting up some
Nice.
30k Blood Angels, and it's just the best group of dudes. The content is constant and high quality. Like you've got people in there like Little Legend Studios, Miles from.
Yep.
Oh, I feel really bad. I want to say it's Age of Darkness, is the podcast that he does. I could have just
Maybe.
got that really fucking wrong. I can't remember. It's too late at night. Um, but then there's some just absolute shit-stained groups. And the really interesting thing is that because I'm on so many groups and I probably spend way too much time on Facebook, there's a lot of people that are in a lot of groups with me, right? And
Mm.
it's funny seeing the way they act in one group versus another group.
Yes.
And some people in some groups are just just shit shows. So like the custodes groups when all this happened for 40k was a
Mm-hmm.
fucking nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one at the moment that's really freaking bad is the Heretic Astartes, the main Chaos Space Marine
Oh,
page.
really?
Just all you need to do is go and ask a question about a fucking Chain Lord, which is a Chaos Lord with two chain swords, and it's just all fucking over. Like some dude was literally like somebody like doxed some guy, like found out where he lived and sent him in real life death threats.
Great.
Because he asked a question that had already been asked. Like it's one of those places where if you ask a question that somebody asked 5 weeks ago, people kick your face in.
Yep.
And there's like almost no hobby content. There's no, so just don't think it's a good place to go. And at the moment, the latest refest I had from them was obliterators in this FAQ have been put to the actual 115 points, up from 65. And it's like, guys, you knew this was going to happen. Like,
yeah, that's right. This
who
shouldn't
are the
be a
fucking
surprise.
idiots who are running around buying up like 8 million obliterators thinking they're going to stay at 65 points?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah. So that's an aside on Facebook, I guess.
Yeah, very much so. But that's fine.
Next one is prepared positions.
Yep, so that's the cover stratagem the first turn, isn't it? Doesn't apply to Titanic units or aircraft.
Or fortifications.
Yeah, or flyers. But does mean that now you've got stuff like, I think, maybe it was just flyers originally. Was that the case? Titanic and flyers? I think they might have just slotted aircraft in so that you're not sneaking in a guy with cover who wouldn't normally get it. So that's good.
Yep. So tactical restraint.
Yep.
So this is the only being able to get 1 command point per battle round.
Yep.
And that is, we've clarified it, that command points gained via select powers are included.
Yes.
And they are excluding command points that are spent before the battle has begun from being refunded at all. So if you're using command points to buy extra relics, special detachments from like Vigilus and stuff, nothing allows you to get those points back.
But what if?
Yeah. You get on your bolder discipline, fucking custos jump back and piss off. Yep. Next one is tactical reserves. So once again, this is from the last one. I'm just seeing if it has. So instead of being set up on the battlefield during deployment, many units have the ability to be set up in teleporterans, high orbit, or ambush. When setting up your army during deployment for a match play game, at least half the total number of the units in your army must be set up on the battlefield, and the combined points value of all units you set up on the battlefield during deployment must be at least half of your army's total points. Even if every unit in your army has the ability, it will not be able to set up elsewhere. Furthermore, in match play games, units that are not placed on the battlefield during deployment in order to arrive on the battle mid-game as reinforcements cannot arrive during the first battle round. Finally, any unit that has not arrived on the battlefield by the end of the third battle round counts as being destroyed. So if I'm reading that correctly, that means that you can't deep strike on the first turn into your own deployment zone anymore?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Yep. All right. Perfect.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It's fine. It's fine. We'll get there when we talk about the Steeler Cult FAQ. I have some thoughts. That's basically right. Other than that, it's just some stratagems get rebalanced.
So they have an interim balance review.
Yeah.
So this was basically things like, I think the big one that everybody's talking about is the fact that rotate ion shields now only works to a maximum of 4+ for Imperial Knights.
Yep. Oh no.
Look, being able to get a 3+.
It's a bit rough.
A 3+ was a bit nuts, which is fine. I got this Mechanicus is the same as the one above it.
Yep. Ion shields again, same thing.
Yeah, Death Grip changed the penultimate sentence of the stratagem, which is the second to last. If your opponent rolled a 6 and or if their result is equal to or higher than yours, the enemy breaks free. Otherwise, the enemy model suffers an additional D3 mortal wounds, and both players roll off as before.
Yep. Just stops you from being auto-killed by Death Grip.
Yeah.
They did the same thing with Mental Onslaught.
I was just about to say that's the next one is, Mental Onslaught. You can roll 6 for it as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Assassins cost an extra command point now to drop in, so it's 85 points and 2 CP.
Yeah. Yeah, to be honest, that probably makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that, was it always a one-use strategy?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I couldn't remember if it was. I didn't have the White Dwarf handy.
Yeah.
That's good. You can still have your assassin. It's still cheap. It's still a very good choice. Like I think we as well. I'm at least seeing a lot of feedback that assassins are definitely there, and they're popping up, in like numbers. Like I'm still stuck in this mindset from 25 years ago that was like you could take one Imperial assassin.
Yeah, no, get with the times, old man.
Yeah, you can have like these fucking assassin clades of 5 kill excess or something like that.
Good times.
Yeah, it's still a super good stratagem. And especially like if you're taking an Imperial Knight army or something like that, you've just had a bunch of other stuff nerfed. Well, you've got some extra CP to use on this stratagem now, so that's good.
Oh no, there is another change.
What's in the change?
Your Imperium Warlord can't be fallen. So there's no assassins in Chaos armies anymore.
I did hear somebody say that was actually a way you could do it because they borrowed the same keyword.
So because Cypher has the Imperium keyword,
yeah,
you make him your Warlord for your Chaos army, and you can drop an assassin in. So now they're excluding Fallen altogether, which is a shame. I like the idea of an assassin getting duped by Cypher and being like, all right, we're rocking up. Who am I killing? Gulliman. What? Okay.
Yeah, once again, playtesters and rules writers being super innocent gamers. Surely nobody would suggest an Imperial assassin in a Chaos army. Oh god, okay.
Hasn't excluded Brood Brothers, I notice. Although you can't make a Brood Brothers Imperium unit your Warlord, so that's fine.
No, it is if you're Warlord, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Cool.
Orc stratagems. So the mod up, I haven't actually read this one yet.
So mob up only applies to boys now rather than any unit. So you can't mob up your looters or your mega nobles.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
That's a massive wow. Okay, how did I not read this before? So that's a massive fucking change.
Yep.
That's a humongous change, actually.
Yep. We've also changed the wording of the rule so it's used just before reinforcements are set up on the battlefield. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Cool. Easy.
Okay, all right. So that's actually that's basically looters completely gone from competitive orc armies in that case.
You would think so, given that they're too squishy as 10-man units to really.
Yeah, and they're actually fucking terrible, and anybody that uses them should feel bad about themselves. I'm going to make a shooting orc army.
It's like making a shooting cultist, like steal a cult army.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, but why?
Why would you?
No,
okay, so that's pretty big. I somehow glossed over that. Well, I don't play orcs, that's probably why I glossed over it.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so that's cool.
Craftworld Psychic Powers, basically all just adapted so that they're Assyriani, not Eldari.
Yeah, and wasn't that basically saying that they didn't want Doom in Dark Elder lists?
Pretty much. Yep.
Yeah. No Doom in Dark Elder lists. Sorry, guys.
You can still have Doom in a Dark Elder list. It just doesn't do anything for you.
Yeah. It doesn't affect you.
So
yeah,
that's fine.
And then obviously the last sort of one in here, which is the points tweaks to the Knight Castellans.
Yep.
So
glad to see an Imperial Castellan's cheaper than a Renegade one.
Yeah.
It's good.
I don't know why that's the case. Why is the case?
Can you double up on weapons on a Renegade?
I didn't think you could on a Castellan. No, maybe you can. Maybe you can for them as well. Yeah,
you definitely can in 30k.
Okay, note that the difference in points cost between the Imperial Renegade version accounts for the fact that the base cost of a Castellan is already 10. It's already 10 points more than a Renegade Knight Dominus. Okay. So it just balances that, so they're exactly the same points when you set them up the same way with a Decimator and a Volcano Lance. Yep. So look, so it'd be good to have Dave here. Let's talk about his knights. Well, no, you're a knights player, Doug.
I am.
Is 100? I think 100 brains. It's like a Castellan's still damn good at an extra 100 points.
Yeah. Yes. I don't see anybody. The tricky part is that a lot of those kind of the list armies that were like the Castellan and the Lucky 32 and some Toad Captains on bikes or some Ogrins or Bullgrins or something, they're so finely tuned that 100 points is actually real hard to find.
Look,
I mean, you'd probably still make the space. Like you'd drop.
Yeah, that's
maybe,
what I mean. Is that I feel like they'll have to retune it, and for a lot of those guys, that's probably the fun of it. And the net listers can just sit back and give it 3 days or 4 days.
Yep.
But I remember going back a year ago when they were first saying Castellans need 100 to 150 point bump. People were writing lists with them with that 100 points already on it.
Yeah.
And they were, and most people, and I mean, whether you want to look at like the Forge the Narrative guys or, the Long War guys. So we're talking like top competitive players, Nick Navati. Shit, I now can't think of the other guy's name. The guy that was captaining Team America for the ETC for a while.
Yep.
Like they all said the same thing, which was like, well, okay, it goes up by 100 points, we'll find the 100 points. Goes up by 150 points, we'll find the 150 points. They were really only saying that they would start worrying at about the 200 point mark, and they didn't see that it was 200 points under cost. So they felt that 100 to 150 points was where it was going to be.
Yep.
And it was worth making sacrifices to fit it in, even at that extra 100 points or whatever. So
yeah. Because that would take it up to 705 base.
I don't have any points in front of me.
Yeah, 605 base for a Dominus or for a Castellan originally.
Yep. Okay. So up to 700
on. Yeah. 705. I mean, that's a big chunk of your army, but you'd probably still pay it if you've built your list around it.
Yeah. And look, okay, then some of the knight stratagems have changed around a bit, which is going to hurt them.
Yeah.
But
I suspect the big benefit of it is that there'll be less plug and play. So they won't be in every list, but they will still be in the lists that are kind of built around them.
Yeah, I've got to disagree. I actually think that every single person's taking one of these is still going to take one of those. They have the problem that they were way too effective. They did so much more than what they should have been able to do, right? Like combat, survivability, ranged combat. Like they just do it all really fucking well. They're really I think they're still probably really good. Like I think if you're looking for efficiency choices in a competitive list, I don't think there's much that would even come close to what a Castellan can do at that point sort of bracket.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably more tempted to take a Valiant now than I was for like a straight competitive list. Because they're still 595. So I don't know. I feel like there's still a bit of play in maybe swapping out the Castellan for a Valiant.
Are they survivable?
Well, it's the same chassis. So if you kitted out your Castellan for survivability, your Valiant will have all the
same. But I say that in that like obviously like what's the range on the Valiant's harpoon?
12 inches.
What's the range on a volcano lance?
Oh, much longer, but
like that's what I kind of mean. Is it's they're. I just feel like like the Valiant has to be in some much more dangerous situations compared to what the Castellan is, which is like such a great benefit of the Castellan is you can basically put it in the back corner of the board and Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, but then you're not using its feet. And that's a whole bunch of points you're not or a whole bunch of attacks that you're not using.
So you feel that you would you drop it in a pure knights list? In a 2,000 point pure knights list, would you?
A Castellan?
Yeah, would you get rid of it if you had a Castellan? It's now got 100 points. Would you try and find the 100 points, or would you go? Maybe we go look at like a Valiant.
Well, so I'm probably the wrong person to ask because I built my knights list with a Valiant in it, even when the Castellan was 100 points cheaper.
Yeah.
But given that it's kind of like effectively it's something like an extra armiger now in a knights list. So like is the discrepancy between a Castellan and a Valiant worth an armiger?
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably a decent way to put it, actually.
Probably be inclined to drop the Castellan for a Valiant and take another Helverin.
Yeah.
And then have the Helverins kind of running around the back, because then I'm not wasting points or wasting kind of combat power, because the Helverins can't do shit in combat anyway. So
No,
they'll sit at the back and blink away.
Sweet
And then the Valiant can run up and harpoon a Lehman Russ in one turn and do all that other shit.
Actually, one thing I've noticed just on the topic of Helverins, because I think a lot of us, in the alternate reality that is podcasterville, suggested that Helverins were going to be the most amazing thing and everybody's going to take them, and I've hardly seen them. Like when you see me go through the lists on BCP and all those sort of apps, and you see what comes back, there really aren't that many Helverins running around, especially not at the top tables.
Yeah, you find more Renegade ones, I think, than
yeah. You do find them in there bolstering that, but it's just interesting. Like I honestly would have said that the air quotes that list, if we had looked when the Helverins came out, I would have said, oh, they'll be in everyone. You'll have two of them at least. Two or three in every single list. You'll always find the room for it. And I'm actually wondering, like, this is the thing with the Castellans, because now you've got me a bit worried about my defense of like, well, okay, an extra 100 points, everybody's going to find it.
Yep.
It might be it'll be interesting to see. Like, I think there'll be some people that will definitely leave them in. But yeah, I just wonder whether the top tier players that may have been running Castellan lists of different types aren't going, well, no, actually, you know what? Maybe the 100 points is enough to get me wanting to look at other options again and see what's out there.
I think it will definitely do that at least, right? It'll force people to go, actually, is there something else I could be spending the points on?
What's that look like compared to, say, a Shadow Sword? Like, is it something where like a Shadow Sword maybe pops up again as being?
Yeah, maybe you might say. I mean, the challenge for the Shadow Sword is always that it has no invulnerable save. And I think the main reason you don't see many Helverins is because Helverins don't give you command points. So if you put in a Castellan and two Helverins, you get 0 command points out of it.
Yeah.
But if you go Castellan, Gallant, for example, because they're the cheapest extra knight, you get 6 command points.
Yeah.
So there's that. But yeah, I think you'll at least see people considering something like, because how many points is a Shadow Sword?
Around, I think around the 500 mark, 500 big.
Yeah, see, I'd probably still be inclined to just go for a Valiant.
Go for Valiant instead of it, yeah.
Oh no, 430 plus twin heavy bolters, 444 points.
Do you have to pay for the volcano cannon?
No, the gun's free.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's a fairly big discrepancy there.
Yeah, what's the cheap ones? Bane swords 390, Bane blades 430.
Oh, I was just thinking about trying to get a
volcano cannon.
A volcano cannon back into the list.
Basically, yeah. Even a Stormlord, if you wanted to do something stupid, 430 points.
Yeah, that's
put your Bulgrins in that. Run it up the field.
Yeah. So no, I think that's going to be one to watch, is whether the Castellan change is just like, I think it's a good change. It's just whether it's going to affect anything that much.
Yeah, yep. What I suspect you might see is that if people keep it, they might move away from the triple detachment,
and just go
points won't be there. Yeah, and just make it something like maybe what you might see is some more brigades, so like some cheap guard brigades with some extra bits and pieces, and then a Castellan.
Yeah, look, that could be the case. Actually, the other thing that sort of struck me when I sort of said maybe like Shadow Sword or Bane Blade or similar instead, is the fact that, and this isn't really to do with the Games Workshop stuff, but obviously big news out of the ITC is that they've changed the way Signal faction awards work.
Yeah, yep.
Which, and I can't remember who I was listening to or reading the other day, they're basically saying that in the quite a few tournaments, ITC tournaments, from like, Rogue Trader ones up to slightly bigger ones that have occurred in the last couple of weeks since they've changed the ruling, Mono faction has basically just taken over again.
Yeah. Yep.
So what the ITC ruling is, to be eligible to win your faction, like best in faction award at the end of the year, so you want to be the best Space Marine player or the best Imperial Guard player, you can't just have like a soup army.
Yes.
And just say, well, okay, well, I do have the Imperial Guard detachment, so I'm going to play this as an Imperial Guard army.
Yep.
So that's pretty massive.
Yeah, because now all of the soup armies are basically competing for best in faction Imperium, right? Or best in faction Chaos, or best in faction Eldari.
Yeah, that's kind of my understanding.
Yeah.
I think there is still awards for like best Imperial.
Yep.
I think. I don't even know. I know there was. I don't know whether they got rid of those at the same time.
Well, it would make sense that it's still there.
It's
just a huge pool now if everybody's running the same list. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's, all about, well, and I think this is interesting. This is something that, once again, I'm parroting, and I can't remember who the hell I'm parroting on this, but it was kind of like the odds of you winning the entire ITC, right? Even for somebody in America that can go to all the major events every year, is so incredibly small.
Yep.
Like, it's tiny. Like, I think they said they had a couple of tens of thousand people, like, for ITC points in the last year. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. Like, it is the largest format of 40K played anywhere in the world. But they're saying, like, the odds of you winning that, so, like, people aren't out there prepping to win that. Like, there aren't many people out there going, realistically, I want to be the best 40K player in ITC this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. It's actually only a very small pool of people that can realistically say that's their goal.
Yes, for sure.
But to say that you're like, I think one of the things they used was like, best in faction for Imperial agents.
Yep.
Was the easiest one to win last year, based off, how many games you had to play and how many people you had to beat or something like that to get points. But it's much more realistic to go out there going, I want to be the best Orc player, or I want to be the best in, Space Marine player, or, you find some ridiculous faction like Imperial agents.
Yep.
And going with that, like, I think somebody said something about like the best in faction for Umber Hulk players. Not Umber Hulks, Jesus, what do they call
Amble.
them? Ambles. Sorry, they just look like an Umber Hulk.
Yep. Best in faction unaligned. Yeah.
Unaligned or something like that, was going to be a big one. But yeah, so I think between that, and because so much of the data, like, the Vegas Open and all that sort of stuff is ITC driven.
Yep.
That itself, you might see the Castellan only hanging around in those pure Knights lists.
Yes.
Because now it's more expensive. Plus, I'm probably, I'm more interested in going for, like, best in faction Blood Angel.
Yes.
I'm going to keep the Smash Captain part of it, and I'm just going to build up around that.
Yep.
Or I'm just going to keep the, best in faction Custodes, and just go pure Custodes, keep the guys on bikes, and build up around that. That's what's going to be interesting to see is, this interacting with the ITC change. And obviously, if you're not playing ITC, it probably doesn't make that much difference. Although generally that meta does kind of end up pervading all of 40K everywhere in the world. It's just sort of the way it works.
Yep.
That's everything that they've put on their release notes as being like big changes, the big port changes. Obviously, every codex, I think, has basically had some sort of changes made to them.
Yes.
So were there any that you wanted to have a bit of a look at there, Doug?
Steel Occult's my army for the year. I can have a quick chat about that.
Yeah, perfect. Let's do that. I think they're going to be a super popular army because, once again, monofaction Steel Occult is, well, super powerful. And I think we're only just starting to scratch the surface with what you can do competitively with the Steel Occult build.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly hard to counter at small games. I can tell you that. Stay tuned for next episode where I talk about games played. Yeah, honestly, there's not a huge amount of changes here. There's a lot of magenta text, but it's not saying an awful lot, is kind of the thing. So one of the ones that we talked about, I think it was off air, is that Brood Brothers that are in Codex Genestealer Occult can no longer take orders from officers from Codex Astra Militarum.
And you seem to suggest that was actually quite a common phenomena to sort of see.
Well, yeah, mostly because you could get a Brood Brother squad from Codex Steeler Cults up to 20, and then sit a Tempesta Prime behind 2 squads of that, and give them both first rank, second rank, and you've basically got conscript squads back, but they're leadership 8.
Yep.
Which is pretty good. Also means that you can't order Ogrins, and company commanders can't order Scions around. So part of the challenge with Brood Brothers is that the regiment kind of becomes Brood Brothers, but that also replaces Militarum Tempestus and a few other keywords, which meant that people were kind of getting around stuff and saying, "Oh, if they're all Brood Brothers, can I order a bunch of Ratlings with my company commander?"
Yeah. It actually made them, significantly better, right?
Significantly is a bit of a stretch. It's better for Ogrins because you can make them fight in the shooting phase.
Yeah.
Or Bulgrins, whichever one's better. So there's that. The other big change was Mental Onslaught got changed to be in line with Death Grip. So if your opponent rolls a 6, they stop the chain. As opposed to just removing your Warlord Titan because the Patriarch looked at it funny.
Yeah, getting dumped off the table.
The only other one was, or the only other big one was they came from below. So my favorite stratagem, where you take 3 units off or 3 blips off the table and deploy them or put them underground. So people, including me, were using that to get around tactical reserves because they started on the table and then you take them off with the stratagem and then you deploy them turn 1. So you get quite a nice turn 1 deep strike. You can no longer do that. They've added any units set up underground in this way, so using that stratagem, cannot arrive on the battlefield during the first battle round, and you can only use it once per battle. So I can't blow a bunch of command points, take my whole army off the table, and then redeploy it wherever I want. Which is a shame, but that's fine. We live with these sorts of little disappointments.
I'm sure being Jane Steel Cult, you'll adapt and overcome in no time.
Yes.
Anything else there from the cult errata you wanted to have?
Amulet of the Voidworm now applies to the whole unit, not just the character.
So is it the one that ignored?
Overwatch.
No, that wasn't the one that. It is the one that ignored Overwatch.
Yes, so ignores Overwatch and +1 to saves when it's being shot at. So the problem with it was that if you had a Patriarch with the Amulet of the Voidworm, so he's immune to Overwatch, +1 to saves in the shooting phase, but you gave him a Familiar, the Familiar wasn't immune to Overwatch.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I was just trying to work out how you get it into a unit. Yeah.
So it's mostly for using Familiars. And so what you'd have happen is that the Patriarch would charge and they'd shoot the Familiar, but because wounds spill over in a unit, you'd start putting hits on the Patriarch. So people just weren't taking Familiars with Patriarchs. Not if you were giving it the Amulet anyway. But now the whole unit gets it. Interestingly enough, the little dudes don't get the +1 save.
Cold at this point, but good work, Games Workshop. Yep.
Sorry? Buffing Steeler Cult. Yeah. It's fine. Other than that, there's nothing else really. I mean, just some clarifications on shooting psychers with Sancti and how mind control works. But other than that, it's nothing new.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. It hasn't really changed my playstyle terribly much because I wasn't doing much with the guard side of it anyway.
No, I would imagine it's more the removing extra units off the table and all that sort of stuff. I've seen you do that. I haven't seen you play with guard in your Gene Steel stuff.
Yeah, that's right. And I think kind of like our conversation with the Castellan, right? I'll probably still spend the command points or the command pointer on they came from below, just because it gives me extra units to be able to deep strike in on turn 2.
Yeah. Well, it gives you that rule's all about flexibility.
Yes, correct.
And you still get it. It's just slightly different flexibility. So.
Yep. Pretty much.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. Any that you kind of particularly had an eye on?
Yeah, well, I thought I'd just, same as you, mainly playing guard at the moment, so
Yep.
I thought I'd have a bit of a chat about the guard stuff.
Yeah.
Not all of it, because I don't want to talk about Ryan and Rouse. What I want to talk about is Valkyries and Grav shoot insertion, because actually
Not
one thing.
Petrov's Mark 45
No,
and all the buffs to that.
I went to Pistol 2, I think.
Yeah.
But no, one thing I've been trying to do is come up with like a competitive mono-faction Imperial Guard army that was not a gun line.
Yep.
And this came out of our discussions about the Cadian 122nd army that I'm building, and wanting it to look different from, say, the Armageddon Steel Legion or any other sort of Imperial Guard armies that are floating around the place. And one of the things I was seriously considering doing was going back to like a Valkyrie Air Force and dropping in things like Crusaders. Or playing around with, I don't think Stormtroopers were ever going to be the case, but playing with Stormtroopers, playing with the Elysian list from Forge World, and just seeing what you could kind of do. But so what they've now done is that if you do use grav shoot insertion, which is jumping out of a Valkyrie when it's flying across the battlefield, you can't move further during that phase.
Yes.
And then you've got to roll the d6 and see if anybody gets hurt if the Valkyrie's moved more than 20 inches. So basically what that means is you then, the best you're going to be is like 9 inches away for a charge. Or whatever it is, you're not going to get the extra. There were ways to get extra movement.
Yes.
Once you hit the ground. So that's one. And then the other one that I thought I'd just sort of mention, apart from Petrov's Mark 45, that you've already stolen my thunder on, is can I issue move to a unit that's fallen back this turn?
Yep.
And no, you can't. Because move is an advanced move, and if you're fallen back, you cannot advance. So that's something that both you and I are actually guilty of doing.
Yes.
Because it's sort of the way that it's written gives you the impression that it's exactly what that's kind of supposed to be used for in some cases.
Yeah, for bouncing a unit out of combat and then moving it towards an objective or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's to kind of, give them a kick up the butt after they've left combat. But they're saying you can't do that anymore. So,
yep.
Thought that was a little bit interesting. So,
yep. Dagger of Two Socks been nerfed as well, I see.
That happened a while ago, though, didn't it?
No, they've changed it again. You can only set up one extra unit.
Oh, okay. Hang on.
So.
Right. I guess the first section of it is in black. Yeah, no,
yep.
I can see that now. Fair enough. I think
because we were all using that so much.
Yeah, I think that had its brief moment in the sun for about 45 minutes after the codex dropped.
Yeah, while you could still put a Baneblade in.
Yeah. Tactical genius.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a shiny knife.
So you can't see me. Wait, what?
I can imagine is Drax. I've mastered the ability to move so slowly that you cannot perceive me. Oh, fucking hell, Jesus Christ.
Drax. Quality.
Well, look, I think that's everything that we want to say about this FAQ. Obviously, I think I might pop up if we're talking about like specific armies in the next couple of episodes and whatnot. We might revisit, or if any amazing Starling changes that we haven't kind of thought of pop up, like Mob Up. I don't know how I missed that. I have no idea how I missed that.
Interesting time to be an orc, I guess.
But yeah, so what are your overall thoughts on the FAQ? Apart from you're still going to play the game regardless of what they do and don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably a much more, and we've seen this sort of trajectory as we've been looking at FAQs and updates as they've come out. They're getting increasingly more subtle. So it's not quite the same sort of wholesale changes that we saw with the first round of FAQs and chapter approved and updates and stuff. It's more those sorts of, here are some things which aren't working quite as intended. Let's tweak them so that they do work as intended, or so that some rules kind of artifact that's not making any sense from kind of a narrative perspective starts to work the way we kind of envisaged it working. Overall, I think it's pretty good. nice and subtle. Tweaks are good. I think the fact that, we're not sure which way the Castellan's going to go is probably a good indicator that they've got it right. It's not so many points that it's just out of the question, but it's not so few extra points that it's irrelevant. Yeah, I think overall it's good. I think, as people read their own FAQs and figure out what's good and what's changed and all that sort of stuff, we'll see more and more stuff online in our beautiful faction-specific Facebook groups about the things that, they're really happy about and the things which perhaps they may express some concern about vocally with angry emojis. But that's fine. But, we'll see that. It'll all shake out. And by the time we hit, the LVO or even the Nova Open that's coming up too, I'm sure we'll have a new meta with new units that are worth taking and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I look forward to it.
So do you have that? That was a very political response from you there on that one. I thought that was very good at dodging the question.
I'll let Chris answer. Apologies to those who aren't following Australian politics at the moment. That was funny, I promise you.
What would your main prediction be out of this FAQ? What do you think the biggest changes we're going to see in the meta landscape of competitive 40k as a result of this?
Can I just predict everyone's going to have more fun? No.
You're so wrong. You got to remember that we all hate this game that we spend so much time playing and talking about.
Yes, sorry. Yes, you are quite correct. Clearly, Fly is going to come back in a big way. I think you'll see some more flying units, or units that never went away, like Shining Spears, will get a new lease on life because they'll be able to do a little bit more.
Yep.
Like you said before, I think looters will largely disappear, and some of those other sort of heavy orc units will just dry up in favor of more boys.
Boys before toys will just become the catch call of every orc army.
Yeah. I find it hard to think of a way that's going to work any other way for the orc list, I think. I think you're right in that the ITC kind of changes will probably affect Castellan attendance more perhaps than the points will. But the points, I think, are still forcing people to make some decisions. So we'll see how that plays out, whether that's, 2 detachments instead of 3, or, you start losing some of those bully unit kind of strengths in your list, that kind of thing. I don't know yet.
Okay, well, I would probably agree with you on most of that.
Yep.
I think the biggest prediction, and the one that I was going to make, is that, maybe we're going to see a lot more assault marines back on the table, just in regards to fly.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid assault marines specifically because they're still shit.
Yeah, I know. I just want them to be good
across the screen.
I just want them to be really good. I like assault marines. Yeah. Help me.
Well, I mean, you're playing Blood Angels, right? You've got Sanguinary Guard and Death Company. They're all right.
Yeah, look, I just think that the biggest shift's going to be maybe less screening chaff, and more fly keyword, but less aircraft fly keyword.
Yeah.
I think some of the utility from planes has disappeared, whereas the utility for jump pack guys and whatnot's gone up a fair bit. So
yes.
Yeah, I guess it's always a wait and see kind of thing, but as we were saying before, it really didn't matter what they did in this FAQ. Would probably still be playing the game.
Yes,
we actually like it.
Speaking of, I have a game tomorrow night actually, so I'll get to practice.
That's exciting. Who are you playing?
One of the lads in the Hawkesbury League. So that's, I think, 5 weeks, where once a week you play someone, post your results online, and we keep track of it. Looking to capitalize on the tournament on the weekend. I'm trying to do a little bit more organized play. So should be fun.
Very cool.
1,000 points though, so it's extra points.
Okay, but it's still quite small. It's still quite small. Okay, that's all right. So you're running your Gene Steals again?
Sure am. Double battalion.
Ooh.
But also Anointed Throng. So I think I've got 11 command points to start with, plus D3.
Jeez,
no, that's wrong. I have
points.
10 or 9. Sorry?
That's not too bad out of 1,000 points.
And I have 4 Warlord traits.
Nerf Gene Stealer Colts.
And 2 relics.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I could have gone for 5 Warlord traits, but that felt a bit excessive.
Jesus Christ. Poor guy doesn't know what hitting. Do you know what he's playing?
I actually have no idea. Hey.
Okay.
So
hopefully it's a large mallet to smash your guys.
Yeah, well, if it's knights, I'm not terribly worried because I think I can still beat 1,000 points at knights with the rock swords I've got and the aberrants.
Yeah, sure.
Plus the abominant's in there now too, so he can just run up and hit something.
Jesus Christ!
And the Patriarch's +1 strength, +1 attack now. Sorry?
Double Killamorph?
No, single Killamorph. I couldn't fit the second one in. But still a Killamorph who's just going to be like, oh, that character over there, he's gone now.
There's enough cheese in that list, it sounds like. It's good. It's good. I like it. Well, look, you can tell us all about that on the next episode.
Yeah, looking forward to it. That'll be good.
But thank you for going on this amazing breakneck ride with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. If you can be so kind, you can leave us reviews on iTunes. Apparently, somebody mentioned that to me the other day that it's still possible to do that sort of thing. So please leave us some reviews on iTunes, preferably 5-star ones. But whatever you can, you'll be able to do it there. I think you can rate us on Podcast Garden if that's our hosting site. So if anybody's picking us up direct from there, I think you can. I think it might be stars. You give us 5 stars or something like that, whatever it is.
Maybe 5 things.
Maybe just tell your friends. Tell your friends all about us.
Yep.
And then we'll have our people talk to your people, and we'll make a connection. And I think that's probably where we need to leave it. So good night, good luck, and we'll see you soon.
Indeed. Play fair.